Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I set myself the goal of finding 5 V8 cars that cost less than £5,000. Now you might think that's quite a challenge, but when I got looking I was quite surprised that actually some absolute bargains are available out there. Now the 5 cars that I've chosen, plus one bonus car which we'll get to at the end, they are all road legal, they're all fully functional as far as the ad says, and they're V8 and they're available right now. So yeah, 5 cars with a bonus one, starting with the least powerful car. That is the 1999 BMW E39. So this car has got a 4.4 litre V8 in it. This particular car as well has got some really nice looking BBS wheels on it. Looking at it, obviously the paintwork needs a nice detail, but I think you'll agree it's a good looking car, and I'd probably say it's probably the most appealing to my eye on today's list. We've got the 4.4 litres of displacement. I believe it's an automatic, yep, but you can't have it all, not for £5,000. But at £4,395, I think that's a pretty good deal, to be honest. The mileage, 119,000, not that bad. It's even got Michelin Pilot Sport 4s on it, BBS wheels, and apparently it's in very good condition. Now, this car makes 285 horsepower. Now, that's actually not a lot of power really out of a 4.4 litre engine. But you know, being I suppose 25 years old, can't really, you know, have a go at the car for that. Now this car actually makes 285 horsepower, which I thought was quite surprising for such a big engine. Even the Americans seem to do better than that out of a 4.4 litre, but I suppose we can't have it all, and 285 brake is still no slouch. But to my eye, this is probably the most appealing car on today's list. Now we're working up in horsepower, as I said, so we're going to go on to our next car. Okay, so the next one on our list is not one you probably would think of when you think of a V8 car, but if you've ever seen the Aussie V8 supercar series, obviously they're most well known for their Holden versus Ford battles, but they do have a couple of European brands that come in. Now, we're not going to be getting a Mercedes E63 for less than £5,000, but one thing we can get is this, the Volvo S80. Now, this is a V8, it's all-wheel drive, and it's automatic. Saloon 2007, so one of the newest cars on today's list, and it falls bang on under the £5,000 budget. Mileage is getting up there on this car, 150,000 miles, but there are a couple out there if you want to shop around. And it's got a clean title, so it's not on finance, never been crashed. And you know what, I think it's actually a pretty solid car really. It's something that I would probably consider daily in myself if I wanted a V8 daily, because it's got the understated looks, it's very usable, but when you actually look inside, you know, you've got the leather, you've got all the luxuries that you'd want out of a daily car. It's not too expensive, it's not too nice, so you might actually want to drive the thing and park it and not be too worried about a door ding. But yeah, I think that's a solid car. Now, how does it perform? Well, obviously the S80s, they are raced at Bathurst, or they used to be back in the day. So there is a little bit of racing pedigree, and also Volvo did have a lot of racing engagement with the British touring car series as well, but they used to use their estate car, it was a 5-cylinder. But anyway, so there is a bit of motorsport heritage with Volvo. This particular car though is a 4.4 litre, same as the BMW we just saw, but it makes, instead of 285, powers up to 312. Now, a little bit of info, the Noble supercar, I believe it's called the MC400, has a Yamaha based engine. Well, that's the engine in this Volvo, obviously without the turbos, but yeah, it's a solid engine. They're very, very reliable, and you're pretty much not going to have any issues with it. My only question would be, you know, is the gearbox that crisp? Because that's really what's going to make or break the car. Being all-wheel drive as well in wet Britain, I think it'd be a solid daily car. Now, on to our next one. This is the cheapest car, I think, on today's list, and that is actually an Audi S6. Now, you wouldn't think you could get one for less than £5,000, let alone less than 3,500. But yeah, this S6 Quattro is again a 4.2 litre V8, so slightly smaller than the Audi, than the Volvo and the BMW by 0.2 litres. And actually, if you look into the torque specs, it makes considerably less torque than the other two cars as well. But what this engine in this car does do is it revs quite high. I think it revs to about 8,000 RPM, so that's where they're going to get the horsepower from. But let's have a little look at the car. So again, it's four-wheel drive, like the Volvo. We've got pretty nice looks, understated. I think you could daily that car. And being 25 years old, I think it still looks fresh. You know, a nice detail. And I think you'd be sorted with this one. Got the cream leather. Obviously it looks a bit discoloured, a bit old, but it will clean up if you know what you're doing. Mileage. This is where, you know, I think that £3,500 price tag comes in. 175,000 mile. If you did want to spend a bit more, I don't know how much lower mileage you could get one on, but there's a few floating around 150,000 mile for about £5,000. So there are better examples out there, but if you want a cheap V8, then I think the S6 is going to give you luxury, practicality and performance. Now, talking of performance, power is up. So the BMW 285, the Volvo 312, the Audi S6 340 horsepower. Now, as I said, the torque's quite low on them. It's 300 odd foot-pound, but because they rev so high, the horsepower figure is there. Now then, on to our fourth car. This is basically where the Brits come in and try and win one, and that is this. Now, I think that's an absolutely stunning looking car, and for the price, you know, £3,850, that's a lot of car for the money. Now, if we actually look, not only is it a Jaguar XKR, I was surprised you could even get a Jaguar XK for that sort of money, but an R, so it's the supercharged variant, and it's in pretty good condition. It's had full service, timing, catalytic converters replaced, oil and filter, brakes and fluid. It's even had a supercharger pulley upgrade. So this is actually one of the fastest cars on this list today. And basically, let's have a little look. The paintwork looks in really good nick. Interior is absolutely totally 1990s, but in pretty good condition. A couple of small things to improve on it, so the aircon needs to be recharged, etc., but it's minor things really. And for £3,850, I honestly think that's an absolute steal. Now then, performance. It's only 4 litre, but it's the only car on today's list that has forced induction, so it is supercharged. Now at standard, this would make 358 horsepower, which is 18 horsepower more than the Audi. But with the supercharger pulley kit, it actually brings it up to 386 horsepower. So peak power is up by 28 brake horsepower. But apparently the area under the curve, I was looking into it, is where the biggest difference is, because the supercharger hits like an efficiency limit. So in the mid-range, the torque is up a lot with that pulley upgrade. But yeah, just shy of 400 horsepower for £3,850. That's an absolute bargain. Rear wheel drive, but I gotta be honest, I think some of these Jaguar gearboxes, they gotta be some of the slowest automatic gearboxes of any car that you're gonna get. So I think that's kind of what lets these down. But apart from that, you know, you're getting a solid car. You can't have it all for £3,800. Now then, our fifth car on the list, we go in an order of horsepower, if you remember. Our next car pips this one by just 1 horsepower. So 1 horsepower more than 386 is 387. And we've had BM, we've had Audi, but we have not had Mercedes. So actually well under budget, £3,450. We have this Mercedes-Benz CL500 V8 coupe. So being a two-door like the Jag, that's always a plus for a petrol head. And yeah, 5 litres, so it's actually the biggest engine out of all the cars today as well. Looking inside, the interior is actually in pretty good condition. We got a massive 5 litre Mercedes engine. I believe they're timing chain, and I'm sure they're pretty like bulletproof, these engines, so you shouldn't have any issues. Whether the rest of the cars stood up to the years, that's a separate question, but I think the engine should be okay. I didn't like the look of it when I first clicked on this ad, but now I've looked at it a few more times, it's actually really grown on me. I think for £3,500, that is an absolute shed load of car, and yeah, shocking how much car you can get for the money. Not only is it the biggest engine and the fastest, it's actually the lowest mileage car of any car that I've shown you today. 82,000 miles. So heated seats, it's got it all basically. It's cheap, it's fast, it's a Mercedes, it's relatively reliable, and it's got low miles on it. So buy that car. It's available as this video is posted. I would buy that in a heartbeat if I was looking for a V8 to cruise around in. Now, we've had everything really included. We've had German, European and British. But one thing that we're missing is a manual car. Now, none of the cars that I've shown you are manual. So I wanted to go out of my way and find, can I find a V8 manual car for less than 5,000? Well, this is the bonus car. I've done better than that. I found one for £3,500. Now it's got the same engine as the Audi S6. So it's about 340 horsepower and about 4.2 litres, depending, you know, where you get your figures, but that's about what it is. And yeah, we've got this Audi S4 here. So not only is it V8, it's manual, which is really quite a rare combination these days. There's not a lot of cars you can buy that are manual and V8 if you actually start looking. Mileage is 137,000, so not horrendous. My main concern would be the fact it's black, so it's going to look probably rubbish in the sun unless you're on the ball with the detailing and the paint correction. But yeah, it's got that famous V8 Audi engine. Again, I think they're pretty reliable. That's the thing with V8s, because they're so big, they tend to not be like tuned very aggressively, unless we're talking like an E92 M3 or anything. But yeah, they're quite lowly strung, so they don't tend to have too many issues. 6-speed gearbox. It's had 11 grand worth of receipts, full MOT, Bose speakers. I think that is an absolute bargain as well. And you know what? It's got me thinking. I reckon we got to get a cheap V8 project on the channel, because I'm missing making some car project videos. I hope you've enjoyed that video. I'm going through a phase of being obsessed with V8 cars at the moment, so I'm finding myself looking at all these types of cars. And in the next video, I'm going to be doing the 5 best V8 cars you can get for less than 10,000. So I think we're going to have a little bit more room to play with, and we're going to get, hopefully we might get a Holden in there, and a couple of, you know, bit more track orientated V8s maybe. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like as well and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers guys.